Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into the YouTube channel. I'm out here in the garage working on tackle, working on the boat, trying to get some things situated. And I thought about yesterday's video where I talked about rattle traps, specifically the 1/4 ounce Bill Lewis rattle trap and how effective that bait can be, specifically this time of year when it's super cold. And I understand that not a lot of people across the country fish lowland type impoundments. And what I mean by that, lakes that are laid out kind of like a Lake Fork or Sam Rayburn and different things like that, maybe a Gunnersville. Those types of lakes that have grass in them, timber, those types of things, kind of set up different and lay out in a manner that's more conducive to fishing a rattle trap. So I wanted to give you guys a bait that works well for more of your canyon style reservoirs, your Highland impoundments, where maybe you don't have grass, maybe you have a little bit of wood, but specifically you have clearer water and more rock. And these are more of your bigger, larger, impoundments, reservoir types across the country. Might have multi-species, largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass. When it comes to those types of conditions, I like a bait that kind of has a tight vibration, a tight wobble, like the rattle trap. But I want a diving lip. I want something that I can throw really far and then I can crank down on light line and maybe get it down to about 6 feet of water or so, depending upon pound test and length of cast. So a small crankbait is key for this time of year. Well, anytime you're moving out of that winter and towards the pre-spawn period, I feel like your moving type baits, your crankbaits are gonna be key for getting bites. So a bait, a smaller crankbait, say something that's a little shallower than say mid-depth, like I say 6 feet, 8 feet, maybe at the most, something like this Bill Lewis MR6 that has kind of a small rounded bill, not necessarily a square bill. It's gonna dive deeper than a square bill. And it's gonna have flat sides. Those flat sides like that, gonna be great for the way that it tightly tracks through the water and gets that nice little tight vibration. You don't want anything super aggressive, specifically in cold water. The only exception is maybe be a wiggle wart that has that wider wobble, but those baits are great because they deflect really well around cover, namely rock. So this bait right here is gonna run a little shallower, it's gonna have a tighter vibration, has a weight transfer system, so I can zing it a long ways. Gonna throw this probably on 10-pound test fluorocarbon, my choice, gamma fluorocarbon. Make a long cast, crank it down, get it to hit into the cover and or structure, and get it to deflect, ricochet, have that change of direction. That directional change is what is gonna really get fish to bite. Your crawfish patterns, if you've got places with smallmouths and spotted bass, maybe something with a little chartreuse in it like this, chartreuse kind of a bluish back. Those can be good. And then there's just times when, a lot of the reservoirs across the country are really bait driven, shad driven, minnows, those types of things. And then just a real naturalistic looking shad profile or coloration would be great. But that smaller round bill, gonna get it to dive down deep. That tighter profile, that flat side like this, is gonna get it to have that tighter vibration, little bit of rattles, kind of a knocking rattle in there, but that's also your weight transfer system so I can zing it out there and get it to dive down deeper. You can crawl this along the bottom and dig it into rocks, gravel, clay, those types of places where you're gonna find some of these fish that are transitioning out of deeper water, thinking about utilizing some types of cover type, secondary points, primary points, and actually transitions where stuff goes from, say, riprap bank to gravel or smaller kind of baseball size or hand size rock. Those are gonna be places where I'm gonna wanna run this guy parallel to docks. You'll have some fish that'll rise up in the water column and suspend under docks. Those types of things are gonna be places that I'm throwing. These are the baits that I'm gonna be thinking about, kind of your, less than mid-range type cranking. And of course, your crawfish patterns are gonna be key. Wanted to share that with you guys because I recognize not everybody's gonna be throwing a lipless crankbait, a rattle trap around grass. And although I think those baits work well in areas that are devoid of grass. Wanted to give you something that's an alternative to the rattle trap, get you some bites. You can cover some water, check some transition banks, areas where you have steeper banks, 45, that move into kind of flats and things like that. So hopefully that gets you some bites. Hopefully you find some value in these videos. I appreciate you guys watching, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. And if you're not familiar, I have a merch line, Team Niggemeyer Fishing. I'll put that description in the link below. Until next time, thanks for watching and good fishing.